This is the DSM, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. This happens to be version 5, which was published in 2013. They've got a newer version, a TR or revised edition that came out in 2022. And if I look through every one of these descriptions of mental disorders, symptoms and diagnostic criteria and all that, you know what I get out of it? Every description of every symptom, of every diagnosis, is a description of normal human characteristics in excess or deficit. That's it. Every single symptom of a diagnosis in the DSM is an exaggeration of normal human characteristics, either in excess or deficit. Let me give you an example. The characteristic of suspiciousness. If I have too much suspiciousness, then I'm seeing threat where none exists. I'm exaggerating the threat. And this can lean all the way over into paranoia, which can be very disturbing and cause a great deal of suffering in a person's life. And they are disturbed themselves, but they also can possibly be disturbing to others because this exaggerated sense of paranoia can cause them to, again, see threats where none exist, which can then be a problem in society. Too little suspiciousness, no suspiciousness at all, well, isn't that really gullible? And so a person who is gullible or doesn't see or critique the information coming in at them can be taken advantage of. And a person who's constantly being taken advantage of is going to suffer greatly. So you can see how the characteristic of suspiciousness is actually kind of normal. We need it. We need to be just suspicious enough to make sure we don't get taken advantage of. But we also need to not be so suspicious that we see threat where none exists. Now we ask ourselves, am I crazy? You know what? Crazy people don't ask that question. Only normal people ask that question. See, people who are crazy, if you will, they live in a world where their thought disturbances, they believe, actually are normal. And so therefore, they think they're thinking correctly and everybody else is the problem. So you'll notice when somebody is on the disturbed level, they'll always be externalized. Everything that is a problem in their life is externalized. Whereas people who are reasonably healthy, they kind of look at themselves and say, I wonder what I'm doing to cause the problem here. So if you ask yourself the question, am I crazy? No, you're probably not. Let me tell you how I like this. The DSM, or Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, is very hard work that they've put into to classify and to make these diagnostic criteria. And what this does is it narrows down the focus for the therapist so that they only focus on the actual characteristics that are causing the person distress. Now, once you have a diagnosis and you're now more focused in your treatment, now what you're looking at is the treatment. What are the steps? What are the interventions? What is the kind of support this person needs to what? To no longer feel those symptoms. So we don't want people to get diagnosed like it's a disease and therefore feel like, well, then I have depression, therefore I'm going to have depression the rest of my life. No, you want to turn that treatment into action. So when the therapist treats the client, they help them first understand where and how these erroneous beliefs kind of developed in their life, and then give them a process for challenging some of those erroneous beliefs and then engaging in actionable behavior which improves the quality of their life. So for instance, in all of the various depression diagnoses, there are behaviors that one can eventually engage in, like exercise, eating right, laughing, gardening, all these fun, outgoing activities. Yes, when you're depressed, you don't really want to do them. But lifting the depression enough so that you can engage in those behaviors will produce a result where you have a quality of life that is much less depressed, if not even eliminate the episode. Same thing with anxiety. When we have developed an anxious response to the world, we can continue to engage in skill building, self-soothing strategies, so that while a new stimuli might cause me a bit of anxiety, I now have tools to deal with it. And if I have tools to deal with it, then maybe I don't even meet the criteria for that diagnosis anymore. So that's what I like about the DSM. It gives you a clear diagnosis. Now you can work on the problem and turn it into action, which alleviates the symptoms. If you've stuck with me this far and you kind of like the way I describe things, do me a favor, go ahead and give a like, a subscribe, and I really appreciate the comments, especially comments that say, hey, would you cover this particular topic? I would be glad to. So thank you so much for watching and being a part of this journey. Peace.